wild animals and wild places. They're more than a picture. They're inspiration, excitement, and adventure. Patrolling and protecting these natural resources is a first-class band of peace officers. These are the Wardens, dedicated to the preservation of our great outdoors.
And it's 25 shot shell limit.
This week on Wardens.
You know better than that.
Yes, sir. 20, 30 years from now, they're not going to remember, you know, what they were doing third period on this day, but they're going to remember this day.
All right, party 9. 46.
Every waterfowl hunt at the Shiawassee River State Game Area starts the same.
All right, so we're gonna start with party 7, followed by 8, 62.
With a random draw for one of the coveted hunting spots.
The National Wildlife Refuge count is also updated. Those are the numbers as of early this week.
The whole intent of this managed waterfowl area is to have a special hunt, a quality hunt. And it also provides that it's not the same person every time getting the same, you know, best spot. Everybody gets a fair shake at, you know, what hunting area they get.
This managed game area spans nearly 10,000 acres and attracts both large numbers of hunters and huge numbers of birds.
All kinds of geese, all kinds of puddle ducks. Every puddle duck, you know, you got your mallards, teal, you know, black ducks, widgeon, wood ducks, pintails, you name it. I mean, every puddle duck, and then we'll get some divers also.
On this night in Michigan's District 6, Sergeant Ron Kimmerly.
Well, the plan is I'm trying not to get my socks all muddy right now.
And Officer Quincy Goenlock are patrolling the game area, paying special attention to 5 main violations: use of lead shot, baiting and use of live decoys, hunting during the close season, hunting after hours, and over limits. In addition to that, there is a 25 shot shell maximum per hunter in the game area.
And that's extremely important because, again, the goal out here is to have a quality hunt. And by having a 25 shot shell limit, that keeps the hunters from sky busting. If they sky bust, they're going to educate the ducks quicker, the ducks are going to flare, and also you're going to get a lot more cripples. Wow, there's a lot of ducks over there. Wow. I see their decoys here. I think we'll go do a check right here, and then we'll move on. Okay. How many you got?
Nothing.
I'm just gonna do a quick check on you guys here. So again, the goal was to look for people shooting late and taking over limits. The birds weren't flying that well that day, so as we were moving that way, we came across a group that I was quite certain they were going to see us, so we went in, checked them. Is it loaded?
Yep.
Yeah. Can you do me a favor and just take them out of the chamber there?
Over in Michigan's District 4, fall means fishing. And when the salmon start to stack up in the Manistee River, it's impressive. Sergeant Carla Soper watches not just the Manistee, but also its tributaries, which are closed at this point in the season.
Actually parked right next to your truck.
Working with CO Rebecca Hopkins, they spot a group in the water.
I'm almost thinking they're doing some sort of sampling. Probably maybe from the university. I don't believe it's our local biologist, so I'm going to assume it's somebody doing an individual study.
This group of students has the proper permits, and Sergeant Soper allows them to continue their work while she moves to a new section to patrol. Back in District 6, Sergeant Kimberly is counting shells, as there is a 25-shot shell maximum per hunter in the game area.
Okay, you guys got shell bags here. Is this all your shell?
That's it. Just right whatever's in the gun.
What about on here?
No.
Okay.
As Sergeant Kimberly counts the shot shells, he quickly realizes this hunter will be over the limit.
Looks like you got about 3 shells over.
I do, don't I?
Yeah.
They didn't have any birds, so I checked for his licenses. They had all their licenses. I checked for plugs. They had their plugs in the guns, so they were all set there, other than the too many shells.
Any other shells?
Got some in here too. I got over.
Okay, you got your driver's license and your hunting license? Take a look there.
How'd you do?
At the other end of the Shiawassee River State Game Area, Michigan Conservation Officer Quincy Goenlock is checking a group of hunters who called it an early night.
And we'll check every boat coming in.
Any luck today?
We look for life jackets, PFDs, extremely important. There's a lot of deep water out here, and there's some swift water out here. Navigation, lights, and then of course we're checking for over limits, plugs in the guns, too many shells, and quite often we'll get individuals with too many shells after the hunt. We're also looking for hidden duck breasts and checking decoys, underneath decoys, in coolers, checking the whole boat.
Check your guys' license, check your gun, your reserver, you got a double barrel, so you're fine. Yeah.
Just follow the rules. Hope you don't hit them with those 2 shots.
Back in Area 60, the Shiawassee River State Game Area, Sergeant Ron Kimberly has an overshell situation to deal with. This hunter had a handful of extra shells in his waders, putting him over the 25-shot shell limit. His hunting partner was okay. He had 25 exactly. But more problems arise when Sergeant Kimberly gets to their hunting boat. He finds 2 more shells on board. And the registration numbers are too small to read.
About that high. I can barely read them right now.
Due to the fact that we were running out of time, and I didn't know if it was just a mistake on his part and the boat was actually registered, I told him that I'd give him a verbal warning and I'll check into it later if the boat was in fact registered. Later that night, I ran through lien vehicles registered to, and it was in fact expired, so he ended up getting a ticket.
Expired registration, 2014.
The penalty for having too many shells is a misdemeanor, and this hunter is fined $235 for having 7 too many.
Today we're heading to a small tributary off of the Big Manistee River. We've had some complaints and actually have written some tickets down at this location. It's one of our busier spots. It's closed to fishing altogether, so even possessing any sort of fishing equipment on the river is going to be illegal.
After making sure a group of students was properly permitted, Sergeant Soper spotted a group of 3 with fish and equipment, all of which is not allowed during the closed season.
So who actually caught the fish today?
We all did.
Everybody got 1?
We got 2.
This stretch is closed completely. You can't take fish out of it. You can't be down here with fishing poles, with nets, with anything related to fishing. So just by being here with the equipment, it's all wrong.
Back at the boat launch, Officer Goenlock counts everyone's shells
10, 24, 25. Good to go.
And seeing everyone is legal wishes them good luck the rest of the season.
All right, you guys are all set.
Thank you, sir.
Be careful going home. Better luck next time, eh?
All right, thank you. I mean, better luck tomorrow.
20-30 years from now, they're not going to remember, you know, what they were doing third period on this day, but they're going to remember this day.
In Michigan's District 7, Conservation Officer Ivan Perez is spending his morning overseeing a chucker hunt. What's unique about this hunt is all the hunters are high school students.
Unload if you got any shells left.
This is the culmination of a hunter safety program.
When a bird goes up, be aware where the other people are. Don't start going swinging, following the bird.
Bird. Okay, you ready? Take safety off, Mitch. Yeah, good job, Mitch. Okay, barrel up. Nice job, Mitch.
I get kids involved in hunter safety, but go beyond that. You know, actually get them involved in trap shooting, skeet shooting, getting them more comfortable with handling of firearms and ammunition, and learning not to fear what was in front of them, but to respect what was in front of them, and that they were ultimately in control of that.
How do I grab it?
Students learn about laws, ethics, and habitat in their classroom, and then transition to the field to put their knowledge in action.
It's that culmination of everything they've learned into this one moment, you know. It's almost still frame. It's like when I'm walking behind the kid and I'm, you know, saying, okay, get ready, take your safety off. Sometimes they forget, which is even funnier. And that bird takes off. There's that split moment where I'm looking behind him and I'm seeing that for the first time like he's seeing it. And that's just special. There you go, you got him. That was it.
Nice
Safety
job.
on. They're gonna remember being able to come out here and know what it's like to be a sports person and enjoy what's out here, and to know that resource is available for everyone. And I'm just really happy to be a part of it.
Back in District 6,
this is pretty slow going. When there's wind and it's blowing the corn around, you can walk through it fairly fast. Not today.
Sergeant Ron Kimmerly is now using the cover of corn stalks to sneak up and observe another hunting group.
It can be difficult. Sometimes there's crawling around, sometimes you get wet.
Get a little bit closer. Now it's a waiting game. If we get any closer, they might hear us.
Back in District 4, Sergeant Carla Soper and Officer Rebecca Hopkins have stopped a group of 3 fishermen. The trio was fishing a closed tributary of the Manistee River and had 4 fish between them. On top of that, just having fishing equipment on the river during the closed season is a violation.
You know, when you have that many fish present, I can see where people would be very tempted to go down in there, and many of them actually know they're closed, but they just can't resist the urge.
The salmon are weighed.
Well, it's bouncing between 17.1, we'll call it 16. Okay?
All right now, 16.
Put 16.
And then confiscated.
And a 12.
But the officers opt to let everyone keep their equipment.
You get to keep your stringers and your nets and whatnot, so unstring those fish for me. And I don't want any of your stuff, okay?
The other thing you need to know too is that the property that you're walking on here, this is private, and the owners have told us that we could issue citations for trespassing down through these portions. I'm not going to issue a ticket, you know, we're not going to issue a ticket collectively today for that, but once you get out of the water and you're up on land, You need to know if you're on private or public property, and all of this is private through here. You know, if they walk away knowing a little more, and then the next time they come and they're following the rules, theoretically speaking, that's what we want, is compliance.
After spending the better part of 20 minutes sneaking through flooded corn to monitor a group of waterfowl hunters near the end of shooting hours, Sergeant Kimmerly decides to move even closer.
We could see that the decoys were in the water, and we could hear the hunters, and they were back in the corn a bit.
Closer. Can't quite hear them.
There was no wind that day. If there was wind, you know, we would have gotten even closer.
About 20 minutes till shooting ends.
But again, the goal is to get as close as you can.
By sneaking up on hunters, Sergeant Kimmerly is able to tell if they are hunting after legal hours, among other things.
Well, according to my watch, it's ended about a minute ago, so we'll give them a bit here to see if they unload their guns.
At Michigan's Shiawassee River State Game Area, the waterfowl hunting is hard to beat. It's also hard to patrol the 10,000 acres. Conservation officers do so mostly by canoe. And on this day, Sergeant Ron Kimmerly has weaved through corn stalks to monitor a two-person group near the end of shooting hours.
I mean, if the wind is with you, you can actually hear, you know, when they unload their guns.
And just a minute past sundown, Sergeant Kimmerly hears the shotguns being unloaded and goes in to check these hunters. They are completely unaware that he's been standing behind them and listening for the past 45 minutes.
Conservation officer, how are you doing? Good. Okay, if we can just do a check here, guys. Check your licenses first. Yeah. Should I count all your birds?
Yeah. Well, that's not even funny, officer.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of birds today, that's for sure.
For today.
Okay.
These hunters have their licenses and the boat is properly registered, but when they start counting shells, problems arise.
All right, your shells. Where are all your shells, guys?
Right here.
Okay, that's all you got. Do you have any on your person?
Pardon?
Do you have any on your person at all? Waiters? What's all those there? Should take those out for me there.
A couple there, yeah. I did have a few extra shells.
Yeah, that's the problem there. Okay.
Uh-oh, am I gonna get a ticket?
Probably.
Oh,
or
hang out, I got one right here in this pocket.
Yeah. There's some more in that pocket there.
There is.
Okay. All right. Okay. Nothing there. What's in this here?
I might have some in there. I don't usually come out.
Yeah, there's more in there.
Yeah, I got more bullets.
Yeah.
Ooh, I wasn't gonna run out, was I?
No.
Huh?
No. And it's 25 shot shell limit, you know.
No, man.
I mean, you've been hunting out here
quite a while. This is my.
So you know better than that.
Yes, sir. I do know better than that.
Most of the guys that I check out here abide by the law, and they've got their 25 shells. But you always get somebody who tries to bring in some.
How many shells he had over? 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Plus he had 23, so he's got one whole box extra.
You know, an extra box, 50 shells, that's way over. sometimes they might have just a shell or here somewhere, and I know that there was no intention, so they're going to get a warning. But, you know, it's unintentional, they're going to get a ticket.
25 shells over the limit is a misdemeanor, and this hunter is fined $260. He had no other past violations and was out hunting in the game area with only 25 shells the next week. Wild animals and wild places, they're more than a picture. They're inspiration, excitement, and adventure. Patrolling and protecting these natural resources is a first-class band of peace officers. These are the Wardens, dedicated to the preservation of our great outdoors.
It's confirmed it was in the hammer lane.
This week on Wardens.
So those deer are from Illinois?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've put a ban on any deer coming into the state, any intact carcass, coming in from a state that's known to have CWD.
He wants antlers. Yeah, you bet he does.
Well, this is the research vessel Tanner. We'll measure length, weight. We'll take spines for aging. That'll tell us how old each fish is.
Clear 125, white truck with a car hauler.
It's confirmed it was in the hammer lane.
Officers in Michigan's District 7 are spending the first Sunday of the state's firearm deer season on the highway. Why? To monitor vehicles bringing deer in from out of state, specifically states with known cases of chronic wasting disease, or CWD.
One of the things that Michigan has done to try to control the spread of this disease is we've put a ban on any deer coming into the state, any intact carcass, coming in from a state that's known to have CWD.
To help stop the spread of the disease, officers like CO Andy Bauer have been patrolling the southwestern border of Michigan when deer seasons open in other states.
That's sort of the fun part of this job is you learn about the resource that needs to be protected or the goal of our efforts, and then you try to be creative and put together a patrol that's effective.
CWD has been found in more than 20 states, and finding deer coming in from those states is important because CWD can be transmitted in a number of ways.
So these prions, or these misfolded proteins, can be shed from the animal in urine, saliva, and feces, as well as staying in the carcass of a dead animal. So a dead carcass, a dead deer, can actually be infectious for chronic wasting disease.
The only way a deer from a CWD state is allowed to be brought into Michigan is if it has been processed or deboned. And no brain matter can be brought in, just antlers, hide, or a finished mount. In Michigan's District 2,
This is the research vessel Tanner. This is its first season of operation. It's a 57-foot twin-engine boat that we just recently acquired. It's the second build on this design. We have a similar boat up in Lake Superior. It's an enormous improvement over the previous vessel. It's safer, more efficient. It has a lot more deck space. It provides a very ideal platform for doing this kind of fisheries research. So the catch that's coming on board today in the survey nets will be worked up. We'll measure length, weight. We'll take spines for aging. That'll tell us how old each fish is. And from that, we can calculate mortality rates and other statistics that we need to gauge the health of these fish populations.
Back in Michigan's District 7.
It's a flatbed white truck, right? Not a trailer, correct? Correct. It's almost like a wrecker style.
Right, I just saw it. It's confirmed it was in the hammer lane here at Maudlin. So it is not a trailer. It looked like a white Ford truck, flatbed. looked like a deer right on the back of the cab, I guess.
I got eyes on.
When Conservation Officer Bauer spots a truck crossing the state line from his perch on an overpass, he radios CO Sekam Keo Polichan, who picks up the truck a couple of miles down the interstate.
Location's eastbound on the I-94, mile marker 7.4. It is a white pickup truck with a flat bed. All right, this 125 I got eyes on.
Conservation officers in Michigan's District 7 spotted this white truck coming into the state with 2 deer in the back. If the deer are from one of the states where chronic wasting disease has been found, that's illegal.
We're sort of surrounded by CWD positive states now, and it's a battle. And this is just something that we can do. We can spend a day a year or 2 days a year with our resources trying to bring these deer in. And whether we're successful or not remains to be seen, I guess, the rest of the day today.
CO Sekam Keo Polichan has the truck pulled over on the side of the highway.
Hey, how's it going, gentlemen? You doing all right today? Yeah. All right. The reason we're stopping you is seeing that you guys got some deer. Yep. So we're just gonna check and see where they're coming from. Make sure that you guys are in compliance and stuff like that. Yeah. Forget your IDs, hunting licenses and stuff like that. Where are you guys coming from? Kansas. Okay. Yeah. So you guys are from Cadillac? Yeah. All right. These are both Kansas. I guess he's got a farm or something out there. But we'll go run him.
We got him south of Warridge Road.
Kansas is one of the states with CWD, so these 2 deer will be confiscated.
Did you tell them we're going to take the deer yet?
Not yet.
I'll do that.
Okay.
How we doing, fellas? Appreciate the cooperation. You understand what we're doing, right? Yeah. Yeah.
We thought it was just the brains that you couldn't bring back.
I mean,
brains, any bones? Yeah.
It's my fault because he doesn't even know. It's my farm. I mean, I left proof of sex. I cut that
all of it.
I mean,
yeah.
I've been out there for 10 years, and I've been living in Michigan my whole life.
Yep.
You know,
yep. And it's all about us not spreading this any further than it has. You know what I mean?
It's in the bones then?
Bones, brains, all spinal column. If you talk to processors in some of these other states, they cooperate with the fact, they cooperate with the hunters, and if you say, hey, I'm going back to Michigan with this deer, they'll process that deer in such a manner that you only bring back boned out meat and a cleaned out skull cap if it's a male deer and you want to retain the horns. Whether or not it's people that just are not aware of that, or they plan on processing their own deer, that is where the problem comes, and then these deer are brought back. Look at that dandy rack. Holy smokes.
This is my bull buck.
Oh my God.
Grossed 197. I've been after him.
Okay, that's awesome.
4 years, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And then these are antlerless?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to seize those deer, and they're going to be tested and incinerated. It just, we got to be careful, and that's why we're here today or whatever. And we really appreciate your cooperation and your understanding, because we understand that you just didn't know. You know, we get it. We understand it.
The deer are placed into biohazard bags so they can be transported to a lab for testing.
Try to get as much biological information of location these deer were harvested for our biologists, and then if they come back positive for chronic wasting disease, then we're going to share this information with Kansas, letting them know about CWD positive deer coming out of their state. No snow this year. Heavy deer. There's your ID and there's your citation.
Both hunters are ticketed for the illegal importation of a deer from a CWD positive state. That's a misdemeanor, and they paid $275 each in fines and costs.
The fact that CWD, it's a prion, it lives in the ground. If they were to find out later that, oh my goodness, I've brought this deer back wrong, I'm just gonna throw it in the ditch and hopefully nobody finds out because I don't want a ticket. We don't want that either, because potentially if that deer was positive, that could be a hazardous site then, that location where that deer would be dumped.
It's an awkward thing. I mean, you guys are hunters. You take this stuff seriously, and this is not something we're happy to have to do. They were transporting deer from a CWD positive state, Kansas. The only way you can bring the deer in is if it's been deboned. You can bring the hide and the meat and things like that, but they didn't. They had the full carcass with the meat on the bones and all that. So what we're going to do now, since we had to seize the deer, those are going to get shipped off to our biologists, and then they're going to get checked for CWD.
Several years ago, a few of the officers, we were always trying to think of new investigative techniques and sort of new patrol techniques, and we had openly sort of discussed contacting people bringing in deer from chronic waste disease positive states. Just started watching every vehicle coming in, and you end up being cross-eyed after 5 or 6 hours of it. But then as I was able to identify the whole deer carcass coming into the state, I've got a chase vehicle further down, further east of our location, call it out, and then they made the stop, and then the interview and the investigative portion starts.
When conservation officers in Michigan's District 7 confiscate deer coming into the state from a state with CWD, those deer are sent to the Wildlife Disease Lab for testing.
What we do here at the lab is we'll come in here, this is we call it our biosafety level 2 lab, so it's a BL2 lab. We have the deer come in here, and what we'll do is we'll look the deer over and we'll remove tissue samples for chronic wasting disease. We also at the same time will test for bovine tuberculosis, since it is such an important disease of livestock. So the nice thing about looking for TB and CWD is that the lymph nodes that we pull for CWD are actually the last lymph nodes we look for TB. So it's kind of like cheating. So we can actually pull look at all 3 of those sets of lymph nodes and then just pull the last ones. So we'll pull the retropharyngeal lymph nodes. We pull that set. There's 2 of them, one on either side of the deer's head. So we'll go ahead and collect those. We trim them to a good size. There's a certain weight that has to be analyzed by the lab. And they can go ahead and run what's called an ELISA. And basically they'll run that test looking for any sign of CWD on those lymph nodes.
In Michigan's District 2.
Well, this is the fish community survey, but we also have a creel survey where we have clerks that interview the anglers at the end of a fishing trip. We use air flights to count the boats, and all that information goes in to make estimates of how many fish are being harvested, how much fishing effort or participation is taking place. And we're estimating in most recent years that about 45,000 yellow perch are harvested. Now, even with the cormorant management that's gone on, we're still seeing about 100,000 yellow perch being consumed by cormorants. Now, they may be eating a different size and age, but it's that kind of statistics that we can compare when we have the creel survey that inform us. So the creel survey in combination with this sort of fish community assessment really work well to inform us about what's going on. All of this information will be handed on to the fishery managers, and then they'll make management decisions there about size limits and seasons and other kinds of decisions about maybe the cormorant management as well.
Perch fishing was pretty much world famous.
The small towns along Lake Huron depend on fishing to support their local economy.
Tourism is still a big draw here. There's still a lot of people that come here on a regular basis. And some of these families have been coming here second, third generation. It's a family type place and a small boat fishery. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment. You don't have to go too far to get to the fish. And little kids can catch the fish. And we see quite often it'll be grandpa and grandma and aunt and uncle and cousins and a whole group of people who just wants to go out and small boat fish.
The fish brought on board during the survey are then dropped off at a local processor so they can be donated to a nonprofit organization. Back in District 7.
Look at We're all there. Now, it would have not been a good idea for you guys to run right in front of my truck, so I thank you for stopping.
CO Andy Bauer circles back to the overpass to continue monitoring the interstate, but not before watching this group of deer cross in front of him.
At least they waited.
Once back in position, officers spot another truck crossing the border with deer in the bed.
There's a silver Ford pickup truck in the fast lane. Deer head in the back. It's newer. No cab, no trailer.
That was a white or a silver Ford? I seen a white Ford four-door that passed us and it looked like it had like a tree stand or something in the back.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, I've got antlers in the back. I'm making the stop now.
To help slow the spread of chronic wasting disease, you aren't allowed to transport a deer from one of the states with CWD across state lines, unless it has been deboned or processed, and no brain matter is allowed no matter what. In Michigan, conservation officers actively patrol the border to make sure no deer are coming in, and if they find one, they confiscate it.
And the one kind of good option that we are allowed to give them is that they can saw the antlers off at the base of the skull, and we can return those to them. And it's not as good as being able to keep the whole head, but at least they can keep their trophy.
Officers in District 7 have already taken 2 deer being brought in from Kansas.
So what we're going to do is we're going to seize those deer, and they're going to be tested and incinerated.
And now have another truck pulled over with 2 more deer in the back.
Hey gentlemen, how's it going? So, stopping you guys. You got some deer in the back. Where are you guys coming from?
Illinois.
Illinois? Okay, gotcha. So those deer are from Illinois?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're both tagged.
Okay, I'll get your license and stuff real quick. With Illinois being a CWD positive state, there are certain regulations that you guys have to do to import the deer into the state. And the big thing is that it has to be deboned. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna end up seizing these deer if they are from, you said they're all tagged?
Yeah.
Okay.
A short time later, Officer Andy Bauer arrives to assist with the stop.
He wants antlers.
Yeah, you bet he does.
How you doing today? You get what we're doing and all this, and I understand the deal.
We've been going out there for years now, and I never knew the law.
It's sort of a different thing, you know what I mean? And I want to make sure you guys are good at, you understand it. We'll answer all your questions.
I apologize, I guess we never read the fine print. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been going to Illinois for years.
For a long time, and because that's how this stuff is spreading. I hate to say it. These positive deer are getting brought in and tracking it around, and and bones being left.
This hunter opts to keep the antlers, so he's allowed to cut them off on the side of the interstate. Both hunters are ticketed for the illegal importation of deer from a CWD positive state, and also each pay $275 in fines and costs.
With the proliferation of CWD and stuff like that, this is something that we really got that we really got to hammer on and let people know that, you know, we can't tolerate any more CWD in the state. And importing deer from out of state that could potentially be CWD positive is just going to spread it more than what it already is, and we're just going to try to contain it as best as we can.
The 2 deer, along with the 2 from Kansas that were collected earlier, are dropped off the next day for transport to the lab. All 4 are tested, and all 4 were negative for CWD.
It is a concern, you know, when you're dealing with animals coming from other states, we have to keep in mind that you're not just moving that animal, you're kind of moving a whole ecosystem with that animal. So the deer that were harvested in Kansas and Illinois, fortunately the ones in Illinois came from the southwestern part of the state, and the one in Kansas came from the northeastern part of the state. So we were able to rule out CWD in those animals.